Hi guys, my name is Courtney. I write under the pen names Lyra Parrish, and I'm one half of the USA Today bestselling duo Kennedy Fox. And today we are starting our cover critique series. If you missed my announcement in my last video or on the community tabs, then I will just kind of quickly fill you in that I have decided to open up cover critiques by Courtney on my channel. With this being said, we're essentially going to look at covers and determine whether they are competitive in today's market or not. This is beneficial for you because it allows you to properly talk to your cover designers, and it also lets you know before you even publish if you're on the right track with your cover design. And I know this is one of those things that a lot of authors struggle with, so I hope that throughout this series you can learn a few things. You can start looking at your covers with a more competitive mindset and comparing them with what's selling. And also, I hope to be able to give you different tips and tricks and things that I personally look at. With that being said, my word is not like the holy grail. I just have about 8 to 9 years worth of experience, and I hope to be able to share some insight of what someone who's been doing this for a long time does when looking at covers. So without further ado, we're gonna get started. Today I am doing Deidre Ann Anderson. She did send me 3 and it's a series, so I will split the screen here. Let's go to the laptop. We're gonna go ahead and open up Photoshop. I am going to import her 3 covers. I use Photoshop, so we have all 3 covers in Photoshop. My first impression is there is not really branding across the entire series, so that's one thing that I would change. If you look down here at the bottom, so you've got an interracial love story consumed by Heat series, okay, and then you have on book 2 a BWWM romance consumed by Heat series, and then at the bottom of 3 it says the same thing as 2, but there's no cohesiveness with the fonts across all 3 covers. If you look at the name sizes when you set them next to each other, like if I were to line these up on top of one another, the name wouldn't line up either. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm gonna throw all 3 covers in here, and this is something that we are very particular about. Maybe a little bit too anal, but I think it's really important to look at these things when you are designing covers or when you're having covers designed, because you want cohesiveness across your entire series, and this one just doesn't have it. The opacity. If you look between the opacity of book 1 and 2, the name is not lined up, and you can see that the titles, look, we'll change the opacity on the second book too. They're all over the place as far as where the titles are lined, where the name is lined as well. If you look at the 3 covers next to each other, the images don't really flow together. You've got this guy who has this hood on, which to me in romance, I think that he's like a fighter or something. And then you've got this beautiful woman on the second cover, but it's so zoomed into her face that these 2 books don't look like they're supposed to be together. Even if you take away all the text, those 2 books don't look together. And then you've got the third one where, you know, it's a couple. This is a very spicy cover. I think that it would be hard to get ads as far as Facebook with this cover and on Amazon, because they do not like skin and scandalous positions like this. Then you've got the tagline across the 3 books that don't match each other as well. And I'm assuming that this is a trilogy, which she said it is a trilogy. There's different tropes: billionaire, drug dealer, law enforcement, second chance romance, surprise family. And so that's what I see across this. Also, the fonts don't match. So you've got the first and second one that are very close, but the middle one is almost a different color red, and it's not even lined up across the 3 covers. You see here engulfed is further down, and I know the reason why that is you wanted to be able to see like the couple. It should match all the way across. There is a city scene on the bottom of it. When I look at the second cover, it reminds me of like some sort of like fantasy cover, and the reason why I say that is because the clouds in the background and the way that the clouds kind of like go into her hair with the stars, I think that it's going to be like a magical type scenario. But then you've got this font that is like fiery and doing its own thing down there. The cover imagery and then also the fonts do not match one another. I do not prefer it when authors put their name on the side of the cover like this. I feel like in thumbnail view, it's very hard to read and it doesn't look as clean as it possibly could. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink this down to a thumbnail size. Okay, this is how people are literally seeing your book on Amazon. Right now in thumbnail view, I cannot hardly read the name. And yes, I do have glasses on. I can read The Hunt. I have no idea what it says at the bottom there. I can read Ignited. The words underneath it, because it's cursive, I can barely read it. And I can't really make out the bottom word. I see that it's a C, but I don't know what it says. When you go to the third cover, the text on the top and the bottom is completely lost, which means people have no idea what it really says. And you have to realize that on stores where your cover is this big, you need to be able to read that text. People need to be able to look at it at first glance and go, oh yeah, this is a romance book. This is going to have some intense scenes in it. This is fantasy. This is blah, blah, blah. At first glance, I would not know that this is romance. Romance is the main genre, but that's very general. So when you are trying to look at covers that are selling, you want to kind of niche down. Of course, like our books are romance, but when you really go down to the subcategory, we're typically like small town contemporary romance. We're gonna go to Amazon real quick. Okay, so we are in romantic suspense right now. And just on first glance, when I look at these covers, I see a sans serif font and I don't necessarily see a mix of fonts. So if you go to book number 2, Ignited is one font. A BWWM romance is another font. Consumed by Heat series is another font. And then your name is another font. 4 is way too many. At max, I would say like 2 fonts. For Kennedy Fox, we have our name in a specific font across all of our books, so that when people glance at it, they know that that is a Kennedy Fox book. And so I like to see branding across all of the books, where if you were to pull any of them down, you could literally match our name and our USA Today bestseller title across. I would say that this mixture of fonts is just way too many and it's making it just a little bit too busy. We are under right now the bestsellers in romantic suspense. This is the free and the top paid. We are essentially going to screenshot these and then put them in Photoshop next to the covers. I'm going to say that I think your books are Kindle Unlimited. Okay, they are Kindle Unlimited. You've got 24 reviews. They're in Black and African American mystery, thriller, and suspense. And then pop culture, I would get rid of that subcategory. I don't think it's really doing you any types of favors. We are going to do this real quick. If you notice these covers, off first glance, I see that they're dark, right? I see that they have dark colors. It looks like there are a lot of reds. There are a lot of 2 different types of fonts. So like you'll have a cursive and then a sans serif, or you have a pretty hardcore sans serif. I'm just scrolling through these to kind of see what's going on. Yeah, it's like one or the other. Not a whole lot of bright colors. Sometimes though, people will put their books in the wrong category, and so you have to just really kind of look at it. Let's take another random one from other spots. They look like they're kind of moving up, like the ranks are moving. Like this one has a lot of reviews. We're looking for stuff that sells. We're looking for covers that have lots of reviews that may or may not be in Kindle Unlimited. And you'll notice how big these covers are when you're scrolling through here, and how you can still read the fonts pretty much on most of them. Some of them though, like I had no idea that said Velvet. That font for me was very hard to read. This red down here at the bottom, I have no idea what that says. That probably should have been put in white. And those are some key things that you can look for. We've got our bestsellers right now that are in romantic suspense. I'm also going to go back to Deidre's book. That font got me thinking about Heat. Oh, it's because it's consumed by Heat. That's hilarious. You also have this category right here. And so we're going to look at the top bestsellers here as well. And we're going to throw some of these in here. Look at the reviews on this. Like so many reviews. This looks like it might be a newer book because it's only got 108 reviews. This one, this one. I feel like this probably had a sale recently. Like when I see 99-cent books up at the top, it's like, oh, you got a BookBub, or you're running some major ads on it. So I try to look for full priced books that are ranking. I'm just randomly choosing book covers. We know that these are bestsellers, right? What we're gonna do here is we're gonna open a new tab. I'm gonna throw all my screenshots in here. So you've got all of our bestsellers here. We're gonna bring them down to thumbnail view because this is literally how we saw them. We're gonna spread them out. You know, these are books that are ranking. We're gonna make an assessment of what we see. Oh, I need one more, dang it. We've got bestsellers in 2 different categories. We've got it in romantic suspense, which to me seems like is like the main one considering the subtropes that you gave me, which are billionaire, drug dealer, law enforcement, second chance romance, surprise family. We've got interracial romance, romantic suspense, contemporary romance. These are a mix of bestsellers that are in those categories. What do you see here? To me, I see a lot of dark colored covers. I see mainly sans serif fonts. There are some that have 2 fonts, but if you notice, it is a one word that is cursive and then the other word is in sans serif. If you look at Cruel Lies, Dirty Takedown, Velvet Devil, Die For You, Brutal Prince, like that to me is a cover trend. And not everyone does it. You have some covers that have people on them and you've got some that are illustrated and others that are more like a photo manipulation, so there's no people on them. It seems like it's kind of a mixed bag. I feel like this Emily Mcintyre, she stands out a little differently to me. These are both her covers because she's using like a photo manipulation type cover. What I'm gonna do is I am going to grab your covers and bring them over here. We're gonna make them thumbnail size. Now I'm just gonna throw your covers in there and show you what it essentially looks like. Next to the bestsellers in your categories, we've got the books in there. And when I look at it, I feel like they don't really have the competitive nature that they should have. If you're having issues selling these, I would start with the covers. Now let's look at your fonts compared to the other fonts. You notice on most of these books, you can read the title pretty easily. This is what I like to call the thumbnail test. And we're literally putting the books in a thumbnail form and seeing if they could compete with best-selling books in your genre. Because it's a series and the series doesn't have cohesive branding across, that it would be kind of a hard sell. So what I would do is I would really focus on changing the fonts and I would focus on changing the backgrounds. It doesn't give off this fantasy werewolf vibe. Like the first cover, when I look at it, I'm like, oh, the hunt. And then he's got like this hoodie on and I'm like, oh, is he going to hunt some werewolves or something like that? I would get rid of the flames. I understand that it's the Heat series. I don't think that it's necessary to have it that large. You could make it even smaller as well. Like if you look at this Die For You cover, I'm pretty sure that that says something about what kind of series it is. Like this one right here, it says a Russian mafia romance. And then it's got the series name down below. As I mentioned before, I don't really care for it being in red because I can't read it on the thumbnail version and I have no idea what it says. It blends in way too much. Also, you can do something that's like this, where it's got the series name above the actual title of the book. When I see a series, I expect it to be branded exactly the same all the way through. And because the series doesn't have the cohesion that I feel like it needs, I think that people might be kind of confused as to where they're supposed to go next. Even if it's linked, it's hard to know because it doesn't tell you like what number these books are. And also, like I said before, with the clouds in the background, it's very confusing because this right here gives fantasy type elements. Same with her hair and how it combines with like this nebula. And sure, it is on the third one, but it's hard to see. So there isn't cohesion. And plus, when people see that, they're like, oh, wow, this is probably some sort of like paranormal romance series. I would almost suggest title changes as well. And the reason why is because if you go on Amazon and you type in The Hunt, 40,000 results comes up. And look at what people have to scroll through to try to find your book. I would search on Amazon for titles that aren't as generic. The second one, Ignited, I know that that title has been used a few times as well. When people search this, your book doesn't come up on the first page. That is not a good sign. And look, it's like fantasy books too. Like you can tell right off the bat, these are like some sort of like fantasy vampire books or something. And then Engulfed. So here we are looking up Engulfed. Not quite as many. There's only 383 results. And if you look, you are showing up on the first page. So that's a good thing. That means when people search Engulfed, just the title of the book, because they're not always going to remember your name, like you're showing up there. And that should be the goal for literally all of your titles. We're searching The Hunt. Okay, you are not on the first page. You are not on the second page. And you notice when you look up this, it's a lot of like sci-fi, paranormal type of things. You're not on the third page. We're gonna go and keep looking. You are not on the fourth page. And you're not on the fifth page. Searchability for the first book and its title with this cover is not so great. I would say to recover these, I would put your name at the bottom. I would choose a font that you want to use across all of your books. I would put it in a place where it is very easy to read in the color white. Right here, I feel like this is gray. This is not the same color gray. And this one matches the first one. Put it at the bottom. You need to have some sort of gradient from the bottom of your cover with your name down there so then people can actually read it. I'll show you real quick. So we're gonna go to gradient. This is what I would do. Pretend like this is your cover, right? Not that dark, just a little bit. You don't need something that's crazy. I mean, I'm just gonna choose a random font. See, you have one of those long names. You could literally do this. You know what I'm saying? Spread it out a little bit like this, right? We're just going to duplicate this lined up across all of them. That literally gets rid of this over here. I would not put my name there. You want people to know who you are and what you're doing. Be loud and proud about it. Since you have a long name, I would literally put it on 2 lines. Let your name take up the space at the bottom of that cover. And right here, just looking at it like this, like add a thumbnail version with a sans serif font that's, you know, it's not cursive or curly or whatever. You don't even need any of that outline. You can do a small shadow, but even that right here is so much better in thumbnail version. Like we know what your name is and we know who the author is of that book. As far as the title, I would try to change these cover images. These 3 covers don't look like they go together. We've got half a girl's face, we've got this full dude, and then we've got 2 people where they are not being seen. I would say to keep the dark color covers. Red seems to be a color that people are using a lot. I would not add all these flames to this title. It just gets a little bit hard to read, and the flames don't match across the covers. Neither do the colors of the titles. I would try to rename the first book. I would name it something that is maybe 1 word like the other ones. I think the name for Engulfed is great. Ignited is also a flame reference. So what else could you name the first book, which is the one that is going to be your seller? The first book is the most important book out of an entire series, because if people love that book, if you can attract their attention with the first book, then the likelihood of them buying the second and third book is much higher. So if you don't have the first cover perfect, you're going to lose out on all those sales. And even if book 2 and 3 weren't perfect, if they loved book 1 and you captured their attention with that, that is going to encourage them to continue reading the series, because at that point they're hooked and they don't really care what the cover and the blurb looks like. As it stands, I feel like The Hunt would be a hard sell. 1, the title doesn't really fit the genre. It's paranormal. It is fantasy. And I've already explained what it reminds me of. The fonts, I would change them. They're too busy. They're too much. In thumbnail, they're hard to read. If you look at the other covers that you've got, you don't really have anyone going out there and doing anything that's just like crazy. You want to be able to compete with all of these books. You want to be able to put your cover next to it and someone go, that's the book that I want to read. Next to Cruel Lies, it doesn't really fit in. Yeah, you've got 2 men, but that's about the only thing that's the same. Yeah, they're both kind of dark, but we've got this night sky and cityscape going on. So the image is very conflicting on what genre this is supposed to represent. So it's confusing right off the bat. Your name, I don't even know what it says. If you look at these covers in thumbnail view, I can tell you who wrote them. You can see their name pretty good. A lot of people who have 3-word names, like you will see them just go for it in romantic suspense and put their name big on the bottom of the cover like I had mentioned previously. My suggestions: change all the stock photos. Get rid of this nighttime fantasy clouds star element completely. It's okay to have a girl on one cover and a guy on the other and a couple on the other. Like, that's totally fine, but make them more cohesive. Like, the guy and the girl, you should be able to see them exactly the same. Like, if you're showing his whole front face, then show the girl's whole front face too. She's very beautiful, unless this image was only cut half, and if that's the case, then I would look for another image. As far as the couple, I know that sometimes it's hard to find an interracial couple when it comes to stock photos. So what I would suggest is to have someone who is very good at photo manipulation put them together on the cover. I've seen some beautiful covers that have been manipulated of 2 single images put together where they look like they actually were taking that picture together. If you look at the imagery for romantic suspense and then the interracial thriller, was it interracial thriller? It's the main category that you are ranking in right now. Black and African American mystery, thriller, and suspense fiction. Like, you're 700 in that category. I think that if you updated your cover, you could be top 100 in this category. I think that you found a really good category that's competitive and one that you can probably like really take the top 100 spot in. To me, it looks like you should change your category. This pop culture, I would get rid of that. It's not helping you. I would look for the romantic suspense category. If it's not an option, there are keywords that you can find on Amazon that will attach it to that category. If not, there is a way to contact Amazon in your back office and you can put up to 10 total categories for your ebooks. Email Amazon and get them to remove that pop culture for sure, and find other subcategories that your book fits into better, because that is not helping you at all to be in categories that your book doesn't really fit into. If you go look in pop culture, it's like rom-com. It is bright pink, pretty purple, no suspense type books whatsoever, and this seems like it's a very competitive category. So I would get that removed. I said that I was not going to critique blurbs, and I'm not, but Deidre, I would look at your grammar inside of your blurb. I would get rid of this, a gripping tale of romance, blah, 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 and I would put that at the bottom above your author's note. Just add this sentence: this book contains mature content, at the bottom of this little like tagline thing, and I would remove your name bolded like that. So what I would do is I would say The Hunt, but change the title, is the first book in the Consumed by Heat series by Deidre Ann Anderson. It's a gripping tale of romance, sex, and murder, and contains mature content that's intended for adult audiences. And I would put that at the bottom, because you have to realize that when people look at your book page, this is what they see. This is it. This is what is selling the book for them right now at this very moment. You need to have a heck of a blurb in this short amount. They don't see all of it. Some people will not read more. So you have to grip their attention in those 3 sentences. So all this stuff right here, a gripping tale, blah, 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 like, move that to the bottom. Like, we need the meat and potatoes right at the very, very top. And I think this tagline is good. Can love conquer secrets and lies? Like, what? Like, I want to know more. Can it? When you break it off with this sentence right here, gripping tale, whatever, like, you just lost me. Also, you're missing a period behind collided. So if someone is looking at this and they're trying to judge whether they should spend $4.99 or even download it in their KU, that grammar mistake may turn them off. Fix your categories. Work on your Amazon A+, because I don't see any Amazon A+ here. You do that in the back of your KDP dashboard. and update your categories. Remember what I said about the thumbnail test? You want your name to be readable. You are Deidre Ann Anderson, and you are going to sell an F ton of books. And what you need to do is make sure that when people see that name and they recognize it, they one-click those books. But right now, I have no idea who's writing what because I can barely read it in thumbnail. It just gets lost over there. My suggestions: better stock photos. Make sure they're cohesive across all 3 books. Number 2, change the title of book 1. It's not helping you at all. That title doesn't match the other 2 books. You need one word that's going to capture people's attention, that fits in with romantic suspense and interracial romance. Get rid of the flames, get rid of all that. You don't need it. They know that it's a consumed by heat novel. I would also choose a tagline that is short. So you need to choose which one you're going to do. Right now you have 2 different ones. You've got an interracial romance on the first one, and then you have a BWWM romance on the second and third one. So choose one and stick with it. Get rid of all the clouds and the stars. Look at the colors that are really kicking butt right now in the bestseller categories, which seems to be dark covers. I see a lot of red and I see a lot of yellow. Dirty's yellow, No Stone Unturned is yellow. I Am Not Who You Think I Am is yellow. This razor blade kind of like sticks out on its own because it's like a bright colored thing, but you know, you can read the title very easily. It's got yellow. Brutal Prince is also yellow. And it's okay to have the same colors of titles across all 3 covers. So reds, if you have a dark color cover, is very hard to read. I would almost choose white or have like a gradient type with some sort of texture on top of it where it's not as busy when you're looking at it at first glance. Other than that, that's the things that I would do personally to update this. And I think that if you change that first title and do a major overhaul of these 3 covers, then apply for a BookBub for the first book. And if you can't get a BookBub, I would still use your freebie days and try to find another like low cost advertising newsletter that you can put this book into. And I bet on those 3 free days, if you do all those things, you'll probably see page read-throughs and you'll see people continue on to the series. Make sure that your back matter is updated, leading people to the second book. And in the second book, make sure that it's leading people to the third book. Update your Amazon page, fix your blurb where it doesn't have the grammatical errors and that stuff that just kind of like cuts in the middle of the blurb. I would get rid of that. Look at your Amazon A+, go into the back there. You can add images. You can make it look however you want. Go look at our Kennedy Fox one. I've been trying to update all of our books since that has rolled out. It literally will give people information on you and your books and the reading order and all of that. On the third book, I would make sure that at the end of that book, you're leading someone to another book that you have, because if they read through 1 through 3, then they have potentially become a super fan and will want to know what else that they can get from you. That is my suggestions. As it stands right now, I would say no, these covers are not competitive. I do not feel like they are cohesive across the trilogy, and I feel like the title of the first book is doing you a disservice and making it a hard sell. So those are my opinions. I'm sticking to them. Deidre, if you want to message me and talk about this in depth, I will be happy to answer any questions that you have. Remember, my opinions are not the end all be all. I've just been doing this for a long time and can look at covers and be like, yeah, this is not right for this genre. If you would like to participate in this thumbnail cover critique test that I'm doing, all you have to do is email me at lyraparish@gmail.com and put thumbnail test in the title. I need to know what your main genre is and what your subcategories are. If your book is romance, you need to dial down in the romance category. What is your book really? Is it a small town romance? Is it a small town contemporary romance? Is it a small town romantic suspense romance? Like, I need to know that. As far as fantasy, I don't need to know it's just fantasy. Does it have mermaids? Does it have werewolves? Is it, you know, urban fantasy? Like, I need to know specific details on your books so I can make sure that I'm comparing it to the correct genre. This thumbnail test works with any genre. You can literally go and get the best-selling books in the category, put your covers next to it, and if it sticks out like a sore thumb, then you need to change your cover. It should be cohesive, it should fit in, it should just look like it belongs with the bestsellers, and that's your goal. Because if you can look like you belong with the bestsellers, then it's kind of like that fake it till you make it kind of thing. Present yourself in a professional way that can compete with best-selling covers. Then if you have a good book and a good blurb and a cover that fits in, like, you pretty much check the boxes and set your book up for success rather than hindering it. The goal is to have it right before you publish, because it is hard to make up for those lost sales after you publish it, but rebranding can do you absolute wonders. If we know that our books are not competitive, we will rebrand without apology. And the more authors who learn that branding is so super important and can look at books that are actually selling hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of copies, and you can fit in, then guys, like, that's the keys to success. Like I said, you need the trifecta: a good cover, a good book, and a good blurb. But the cover is the first thing that people look at. Then they read the blurb, and then they decide to give your book a chance. So you need to be able to check all those boxes. Deidre, just know that all of my comments are made with absolute love. I'm not here to tell anyone that their covers just absolutely suck and that, you know, they're horrible. I want to try to give you guys insights, so then if you decide to redo your covers, then you have some sort of like guideline to do that. I also spoke to Brooke Passmore, and she has offered those whose covers I critique a 20% off coupon, essentially, to get your covers remade if you want to use her. For everyone else who's watching this video, you will get 10% off if you use Brooke and just tell her that I sent you over there. Brooke is very easy to work with, guys. Of course, you don't have to use her. You can shop around cover designers, but she did offer that because she knew I was doing this. So I think it's a great opportunity for my viewers, and it's a good opportunity for Brooke to be able to make different types of covers. I will also add that anyone who I critique their covers, if you do choose Brooke to redo those for you, I will be happy to look at the draft before you finalize with any of my thoughts and opinions. Like I said, that's for those whose covers I critique if you are still unsure of what you need to fit in with your genre. Also wanted to add that I got 30 covers sent to me, so doing these might take me a little longer than what I thought. I wanted to make it kind of short, but considering how long this video is already, I don't know if that's going to happen. So it might just be one per week. With that being said, I appreciate y'all being here. I hope y'all learned something. If you have any questions or any thoughts or opinions or whatever, feel free to leave a comment down below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe so you can be a part of the Courtney Project, I don't know, YouTube family. And that's all I have. I hope y'all have an amazing, incredible week. You accomplish all your goals and you write all the words, and I'll see you again in my next video. Bye, guys.